How are you all doing? Welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast, and welcome to a very different stream, and one that we really feel like I'm really excited to make, really, because we're going to look back today on every single event that we've sort of witnessed, really, in this first week of Euro 2020. We're going to look back on what has been a crazy first week of this major tournament. I've decided to do it live, really, so I can hear you in the chat as well. Give your thoughts And what I believe has been a really, really exciting tournament as well. Get involved in the chat by giving your thoughts as well. But we've got so much, and I mean so much, to get through today. England beating Croatia in their first game of Euro 2020. Both of them kicking off their games in Group D. England coming out on top. Bruno and Ronaldo and Jota and many more with Portugal. But in particular, Cristiano Ronaldo. What a performance from him yesterday in those last few minutes of the game. He really, really turned it on when it mattered for Portugal, and they went on to win against Hungary in the end quite convincingly 3-0. Netherlands beat Ukraine, a 3-2 5-goal thriller as well. So much and much more to continue. We've got more to get through as well. Spain, a lot of passing but no end product. We'll come on to Spain as well as they draw 0-0 in their first game. Italy, first game, of course, it's Italy versus Turkey on Friday. Of course, it is a week one roundup, and it hasn't been a week yet. It'll be a week, of course, on Friday. But the whole match week has now been a week's amount of games. Everyone has played at least one game. So that's very, very, very exciting. We've got Schick's halfway line goal against Scotland as well, so that's going to be very, very interesting. Scotland losing their first game. Schick, of course, for Czech Republic scored a fantastic goal from the halfway line, and a really, really good header as well in that first for the first goal as well. So for Scotland, it's not looking great, and for Scotland, it is a bit of panic stations going into their next game. Of course, England on Friday. That really sort of makes that game heat up when we talk about that. France again played against Germany last night, and Mbappe looked sharp. Pogba looked fantastic. Nothing like the Pogba we see in a Manchester United shirt. He looked very, very good. And Rudiger as well, taking a little nibble from poor Pogba. And I don't mean that in any other way than he tried to actually bite him. However, it is recently come out, and we'll come on to that briefly, but UEFA not taking any actions on that. Poor Pogba's actually come out and said he's known Rudiger for a long time. He did think he did make some sort of contact, some sort of nibble, if you like, but he's not going to worry about it too much. So that's very, very interesting. To hear that. Finally as well, Belgium, we've got comfortably beaten Russia 3-0. Romelu Lukaku looking absolutely fantastic in that game. He scored a brace, 2 goals in that match, and really brushed past Russia, who, by the way, beat Finland today as well. Again, we're going to do my fantasy team update as well. I want to go through my fantasy team, discussing what I think has been a good fantasy team, which players have really stood out for me personally, and I want to hear from you and your fantasy experience so far as well. And if you're watching this, of course, as a video, make sure you leave a comment down below, because I'll be responding to all of them, even though this will be recorded and this is being done live. I want to hear from you, of course, in the chat. As if this was, of course, as if you were in the live chat. I want to hear from you, as always. And, of course, we've got to mention briefly, we won't do it too much, we will mention the Christian Eriksen horrific incident that happened against Finland in that game. Very, very shocking and nerve-wracking times, of course, watching that game. But hopefully, and touch wood, that we are sort of seeing the road to recovery for Christian Eriksen. But I think there's one place to start. We'll start with England. We'll start with England beating Croatia in their first game. The first time, of course, England won their opening Euro 2020 game, which is very, very good and a very, very good thing for England. It's a good start for them, and we'll come on to that. We beat Croatia 1-0. I don't want to go too much into it. We have done a match reaction for it, so I'm not going to sort of repeat and go over the content that we've already done surrounding that. But it was a good win. It wasn't convincing in terms of it was we scored lots of goals. It wasn't convincing in that sense, but it was a game in which I thought we did okay. It was a game in which I thought we played quite well. There were some real standout performances for sure from individual players. Gareth Southgate, of course, as well. He made some controversial decisions for the game. Even kicked off with his starting lineup, and it worked for England. And the title I've sort of gone with is can England really bring it home? And I emphasise really, because I think it gets thrown about, doesn't it? England is it coming home? Can it come home? There is that, but will it really come home? Is it really possible that England can be really successful in this tournament, and whether that is winning the competition? We are one of the favourites. I don't know, and that's for you to decide. But I don't. Let's not get too carried away. I thought we were good against Croatia, but it's going to be a really interesting test on Friday, because Scotland have got some big games. A big game against ahead of them. Well, I say games because they've still got to play Croatia as well. But for Scotland, it's a massive game. I will be doing a preview for that probably tomorrow. So there's so much that Scotland have got to play for, and going into that game, England have got to be on their toes, because they played well against Croatia, but they could have played better, and that's certainly what I'll say with that. Can England really bring it home? I don't know, but it certainly is a story in the first week of games. The next thing I want to talk about, I think we'll talk about Cristiano Ronaldo yesterday. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal when it mattered. I don't think it was a game where it was unbelievable. I don't think it was a game where he was the Cristiano Ronaldo that we've seen before of mind-blowing ability and mind-blowing, I guess ability and mind-blowing talent and so a fantastic performance to him for 90 minutes of the game. But when it mattered at the end of the game, he really sort of turned it on and really started some really, playing some good stuff for Portugal. That 1-2 with Rafa, he did score the penalty, but the goal where it was 1-2 and then a really calm, composed finish in the back of the net for them, I thought that was fantastic from Ronaldo, and that's what I mean when it matters. And in big games, he breaks records. He's now, of course, the official Euro top goal scorer of all time. And again, that's what Cristiano Ronaldo does. He's a record breaker. He scores goals, and he doesn't carry Portugal. They've got some great players, but he is sort of the real leading man in that Portuguese side, and yesterday he showed that because I thought he was absolutely phenomenal when it matters. The next thing I want to talk about is France versus Germany last night. Of course, a really, really interesting game, France versus Germany, if I'm being honest. I thought France were very, very good. Of course, they are one of the favourites for this tournament. They were, and I thought I really I was excited to watch that game, and I did watch that game, and I was excited to see what France could offer. And I think we saw aspects of it. It wasn't the French side of unbelievable amounts where we saw them blow Germany off the park, which I don't think anyone expected them to do. But there were certainly areas of the French performance that I saw could have been better. But there were aspects of that performance I thought were absolutely fantastic. Paul Pogba really, really turning on the show. I thought for him over Manchester United, when his Manchester United times, it's been a bit on and off. It's been a bit hot and cold at times. I think a lot of Manchester United fans will agree with that. But I thought he was very, very good. I thought it was fantastic, the passing that he made, and we know the ability he's got, but some fantastic passing from the dribbling ability that Paul Pogba's got. The power in midfield is phenomenal. I thought he was great last night. We talk about Mbappe as well. He didn't score, got a goal that was disallowed, and quite rightly disallowed, but a fantastic finish from Kylian Mbappe, and that's what I mean. He's a player that when he's on it, he really shows the unbelievable ability that he has, and he shows for PSG. And people criticise it. Some people criticise PSG for not playing in a competitive league, but when it matters in a league like this, in a tournament like this, should I say, he really still turns it on. He shows his quality. I thought his pace was really, really shown. I know German defenders aren't very, very quick in the current one. We're seeing Matt Hummels and Ginter aren't the quickest of players. I understand that, but Kylian Mbappe really, really, really looks to be an extremely good player, and I'm really excited to see him progress through. And continue to see him being a fantastic player in this tournament and continue to impress and hopefully score a few goals as well along the way, which I'm sure he will do, because that goal there clearly showing the ability that he's got to be an absolutely fantastic player. So I look forward to continue to see Kylian Mbappe, because I really, really like the look of him and like what I've seen from him. And in that game as well, we saw Matt Hummels, that unfortunate own goal to eventually lose the game for Germany. But I thought Germany, they could still be successful in this tournament. Even if they come third, I think they're going to be a team really to watch out for. Because they come third, and if they come third, there's a high chance that they will be able to progress through to the next round, and I think they will. I think they will probably finish third. I think Portugal beating Hungary was quite a comfortable one for them in the end. I thought France yesterday, they didn't brush Germany past. It was quite a competitive game, to be honest, but I thought France sort of just proved the quality and showed their quality, and in the end, that was sort of game, set, and match. But again, Portugal versus Germany, Hungary versus France. I think the next set of fixtures as we go into game week 2 of the group stage, I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how that group sort of shapes up. What else I want to say as well is that incident between Rudiger and Paul Pogba. Now, I don't really know the situation with it too much. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but I think I watched it. I saw it a few times. I've seen some replays. I know Roy Keane's had his sort of hilarious say on the matter, but you know what? I think it's quite a strange one. I really think it's quite a strange one. He clearly does go for some sort of bite. I wouldn't describe it as a vicious bite, but either way, you can't bite someone in a football match. Okay, I think some people are trying to go, he only nibbled. I don't think you can say that. I think if you go to bite someone, whether you're trying to take their arm off, either way, you can't do that. So there is always going to be controversy around that. UEFA apparently are not taking any action or any further action on Rudiger's action, should I say, or biting action towards Paul Pogba in that game, which is fair enough. They have the ultimate decision. Paul Pogba's already come out and sort of explained and sort of spoken about that, so that's interesting as well. But ultimately, it does look like nothing's going to be, no further action going to be taken there. But that was a really interesting point in the game, and I really sort of thought in that one, what is going on here? We saw Luis Suarez do it in the Premier League, in the World Cup against Chiellini, 4 or 5 years ago. Well, longer than that, was probably nearly 6 years ago now, isn't it? And then now you see this. It certainly isn't as prominent as that. I'm not pretending like it was a vicious, an awfully vicious bite, but still, it's definitely a talking point that a lot of people are speaking about, and I think I should give my say on it. They're not taking any further action, so I can't really see anything other more than, it wasn't great to see, but obviously, that's just the way it is. And I was really surprised to see it. Next up then, I want to talk about Spain. I think Spain's an interesting talking point. I do. With Spain, I thought that, the preparations for Spain have been difficult in this, going into this tournament, the whole training ground situation, Busquets having COVID, and he's a key player in this Spanish side. He does make this Spanish side tick, and I was really surprised to see the fact that, they played as well as they did. I don't think they played amazingly, but they played okay in the circumstances. I thought that they passed the ball quite a lot. I thought they kept the ball quite a lot. But like I said there, I was quite surprised by the fact that they played as good as they did. I don't mean that in a patronising way, but they did play okay. They played some football where I thought they kept the ball, but they didn't do anything with it, and that's what and they didn't score any goals. There's no end product in that, and that's what's important. That's what's going to win you football matches, and that's what's going to get you far in this tournament, is scoring goals. Obviously, it sounds stupid, but it's true. You can have the ball, you can pass the ball, you can keep possession, you can try all these fancy balls over the top. Thiago can stick his thumbs up to whoever he wants and thanks him for every pass he gets in midfield. But ultimately, if you're not going to do anything with the ball, it doesn't matter. If you're not going to penetrate the opposition's defence and cause problems, and ultimately, that's the way it is. That's just what's going to happen. And ultimately, you're not going to win games. You're not going to be successful in this tournament. And I think Spain, they've got something to build on there. But ultimately, they're playing Sweden now. Obviously, Sweden defended like they've never defended before. They sat back and quite rightly so defended and played some great stuff defensively. And they defended for their lives, which is fair enough. Is what you've got to do. But Spain didn't do anything with the ball, did they? They didn't do anything with it. When you talk about the talent they've got, they didn't do it very well. Morata missed a really good chance. If that was Moreno, I really thought Moreno should have started this game for Spain and scored. And I think he would have scored that chance. And that's what I mean. You can have the ball all you want, but if you're not going to do anything with it and you're not going to penetrate the opposition, then there's no point in having the ball really in an effective way. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please give your thoughts on these stories and what I'm talking about in this first week roundup of Euro 2020. Give yours in the chat as well, because I'll be reading them out and discussing it. It's free to leave a chat in the live chat. So give your thoughts on that. Give your thoughts on everything surrounding Euro 2020 in this first week from what we've seen, and I'll be reading them out in the live stream as well. And leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. It's just the way it is. It's free and easy to do both of those things. We'll be doing this pretty much regularly as each match week goes. We're really rounding up and discussing what we've seen on this crazy major tournament already. Where should we go next then? We've got a few things we talk about. We could talk about Italy. I think Italy is an interesting talking point. I thought Italy, and sort of briefly finish on Spain. I think Spain will get out of their group. I think Spain could be a good team in this competition, but they've got to do more with the ball. They can have the ball. They're clearly a possession-based team. They clearly like having the ball, but they've got to do something with it, and that's the important thing. Moving on to Italy then. I thought they were very, very good. Now, I know Turkey are they're meant to be the dark horses of this competition. Now, I'm pretty sure, as I've recorded, as of this live stream right now, Turkey are still losing and did lose 2-0 to Wales. So for Turkey, it's not great. And for Turkey, this tournament is starting very, very poorly, if I'm being honest with you. It's starting very, very slow. It's starting very, very badly. And considering they are meant to be the dark horses and the real underdogs in this tournament, I think, as soon as you keep talking about a team being underdogs and dark horses, the more you talk about it, the more they suddenly aren't dark horses. We can predict these dark horses. We can predict the teams we think are, maybe aren't spoken about as much, and then they're going to be successful. But as soon as you start doing that, they are being spoken about, and they are putting a lot of pressure on that team. Turkey have got some fantastic players and have been known as the team that might go far in this competition, even though they're not of the stature, and that's no disrespect to Turkey, of the stature of the big boys in this competition. But because it's been labelled like that, I think they are really crumbling under pressure. Losing to Wales 2-0, losing to Italy 3-0 quite comfortably, very comfortably, I'd say, losing that game. It's really, really a struggle for them. And that's, I really think Turkey are going to struggle to get out of this group now. They've, of course, got to play Switzerland in their next game. I really don't know. I really don't know the situation there, and I really look forward to see what other people think of that, because I think Turkey, have gone from dark horses to being really, really not that good at all, and making an Italy side, they did make an Italy side, who, let's be honest, were very, very good, look even better than they were. I thought they were good, but they're making them look even better, and we will touch on Italy for sure, because they deserve it. I thought they were fantastic. We talk about Berardi and Insigne playing as those inside forwards. I thought they were fantastic at doing that, cutting in and really sort of coming in and getting in control with the attack, and really being really, really important in that. We'll talk about Immobile up front as well, doing a great job scoring a goal there. And of course, they've got other players as well across the back. They've got Chiellini and Bonucci still leading that back line in such a great way. And in midfield, they've got Barella. They've got Jorginho. They've got fantastic quality in that midfield that ultimately, they're going to be successful in this tournament, I think. And I think a lot of people might be sleeping on them a little bit. I don't think as much now. Maybe before the tournament, a lot of people sort of were sleeping on them. But now we're seeing an Italy side that look very, very, very dangerous and look like a really, really good side with a lot of quality. And I look forward to seeing Italy progress through this competition, because I think if they carry on playing the way they are, I think they're going to be a real team to watch out for. And whether it's your team that's playing against them, whether it's England in our case, and in my case, I think I'm really going to be worried about Italy, because they look a really, really good force. They got real structure, they got real organisation, and to be an organised team in this competition, that's how you're going to be successful. And I really do worry about them. I really, really do. Next up, then we'll briefly touch on Eriksen. We'll touch on that horrific incident that happened, of course, against Finland. I know a lot of people have spoken about it. I know we briefly spoke about it in the match reaction, but I think we've got to speak about it, but not in a lengthy way, and nothing more than I think I'm so happy and so glad that Eriksen is on the road to recovery, and that Eriksen is in a position now where he looks to be getting better, getting recovered, and touch wood, he is on the road to hopefully a safe recovery. Basically, it was a horrific incident that happened. We know that it was a cardiac arrest, which is awful. Having a heart attack in that situation. I think, though, to be honest with you, in the circumstances, the medical staff dealt with the situation so well. I thought they were absolutely phenomenal. I thought the way that they dealt with that whole, I thought the way the players did. I think the captain, Simon, I can't pronounce his second name. It's Simon Kajaya, so something like that. I thought he was absolutely fantastic with the way that he dealt with the situation. He actually saved Eriksen's life in the end. Making sure that he didn't choke on his own tongue when he did actually collapse. Then shielding away to have the privacy, and then comforting his wife. I thought he was an absolute hero, and I think with him, he's the real shining light in this situation. He's the player that I really think should get the biggest amount of plaudits, because he was phenomenal in dealing with that situation. A true captain and a true hero. For Eriksen, of course, thankfully, it does look like it's a position. He's in a position now where he is getting better, and he is recovering. He released a personal statement saying that he won't give up, and he's excited. Well, not excited, but he's given up, and he's hopeful, is the better word of putting. He's hopeful for the future, and hopefully maybe. Does that mean he's going to be playing football again? We really hope so, because Christian Eriksen is a phenomenal football player with so much ability. It is what it is, says, hiya, mate. How are you doing, mate? Hopefully you're doing well. Do you want to give your thoughts on Euro 2020 moments in the first week? That'd be fantastic. I'll be reading all of your thoughts out as well. I want to hear from you on this first week of the tournament. What a tournament it's been. I want to hear from you in the live chat. Next up, then, we're going to talk about Belgium. Because I think Belgium, and in particular Romelu Lukaku, what a fantastic player Romelu Lukaku is. He's had a great season with Inter Milan. But what I'm seeing from Romelu Lukaku this season and in this tournament, and what I've seen from this season and what I'm seeing in this tournament, is a fantastic centre forward. We know that he's got that ability. We know he's a fantastic player. But he's proved it in his first game, 2 goals, a brace. He goes up to the camera and says, and that links on nicely to what I said in the last one about Christian Eriksen. He went up to the camera and said, and gave his support to Christian Eriksen when he scored the goal as well. Another lovely touch. And I think for him, he's a player that is a clinical, ruthless striker. And we've seen that again. We've seen the amazing ability that Romelu Lukaku's got. He's a lethal striker. And I think in this tournament in particular, I think he could be a player that almost carries Belgium and can get Belgium through some games just on his own, and that's the player that you want. It is what it is. Says it's been all right so far. Enjoyed the Italy match and the Portugal game. I think they've been some good games. I mean, Italy as well are playing tonight, so that'll be interesting to see if they're a bit of a one-game fluke. We'll be really able to see them against Switzerland tonight, so that's going to be interesting. I look forward to watching that game. And you're right as well. We've already spoken about the Portugal game. I thought that was a very, very good game, especially in the end. I thought in the actual game it was quite cagey. I thought Hungary, in the end, did get their goal disallowed, but I thought they were very, very good. But no, mate, I think you're spot on there. Some really good highlights so far, and also some not so good highlights. highlights, including the Eriksen one. That was a very, very heartbreaking and nerve-wracking moment. But we're talking about rounding up, week 1 of this tournament. I think it's been a really, really interesting one. I've got some other ones that I want to speak about as well. Speaking about the shit halfway line goal. How does Scotland fare going into the tournament, going into the next game against England? Netherlands beating Ukraine 3-2. I think that was a real game that I enjoyed watching. I thought Netherlands looked very, very good. I thought Netherlands looked a really, really good side, particularly going forward. I thought they were very, very good. But be interested to see what happens with Netherlands going forward. Let me just quickly do something here. Let me just quickly go back to the stream starting soon. I think I've got to make sure my charger's plugged in so we don't die. The stream doesn't die while we're live. That would not be ideal. 1 second. At all, would it? There we go. Apologies for that one. But no, where were we before the Netherlands game? I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I thought Netherlands played very, very well. Like I said, going forward, I thought Netherlands were fantastic. I thought they were very, very, very good. I thought Wijnaldum in that more advanced role in that Netherlands midfield and in that Netherlands team was phenomenal. Really, really liked the look of Wijnaldum. Depay as well wasn't great in terms of how he played, but I think he's going to grow into this tournament, going to grow into this competition. I look forward to seeing that attack sort of blossom and continue to blossom. Weghorst as well, scoring as well for him. So that's a good achievement for him, and good to see that strikers for Netherlands are on the score sheet. Ukraine tried to get away back. They got back 2-2, but unfortunately Dumfries as well, who should have scored earlier in the game, finished it off with another goal and won the game 3-2 for the Netherlands. So that's a good game in terms of the highlights of this competition so far. Netherlands really looking like a good side. Particularly, like I said, going forward, I thought defensively a little bit shaky, and certainly quite shaky in terms of the goals they conceded by Ukraine. Should I say to Ukraine? But generally, I thought I was really, really impressed with with the Netherlands. I thought they comfortably won, and I think what we've seen so far is not too many surprises. I think that's important to say. I don't think we've seen anything in terms of wow, they've shocked us. I think what we've seen so far, maybe Turkey to an extent. I think Turkey losing to Italy, losing to Italy so comfortably. I thought that would have been a much closer game, and I thought Wales beating Turkey today, the way they did 2-0, I thought that was a little bit of a surprise. I thought Turkey would have really, really given Wales a real game. I don't think they did. So that's interesting to look at. Looking at France last night, I don't think it's going to be easy for them since they're the favourites. I think that's an interesting point, mate. I really, really think that's an interesting point. Looking at France last night, we've already spoken about sort of what I thought of that game. But if we talk about France in particular, they are the favourites in this competition. They are the favourites for this, for this tournament. And when you are favourites, there is instant pressure on you. Now, technically, bookies' favourites say that England are favourites, so that's going to be interesting to see sort of how we continue to deal with that. I mean, so far, I've actually thought we've dealt with it very well. I know we've only played one game, but I have been impressed with the way that we've done so far. I have been impressed by the way that we dealt and played against Croatia, and considering we are the favourites, it's interesting to look at it like that. But like you said there, mate, I think, with France, they look good, and I said it earlier, I said they look good, and they showed aspects of what we're expecting from this fantastic French side, but not completely. There's still aspects missing, I think, from that French team. But you have to remember as well, they are playing against a German side that I think they're another team that people might be sleeping on. I think a lot of people just think it's the Germany they're not the Germany of old, and in which case then they're not good enough and they won't be good in this competition. I think they will be. I really, really think they will be. I think Germany are going to be a real team to watch out for. We know that Havertz is still there. We've got Twinkle Toes Werner up front, who really, really does not look on it still in this competition. I thought even when he came on, he didn't do anything bad, but I thought he was absolutely awful in terms of when he did have the ball. I thought he was really, really poor in terms of retaining it. In that sort of game, retaining the ball is so important. Phillips was world-class man of the match for me, and that was, of course, Calvin Phillips for England. I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on in that game. And if you want to check out sort of my detailed thoughts on that England game, I did do a match reaction straight after that game. and that was a really interesting talk about. We sort of went into more detail about Calvin Phillips, but I thought the way that Gareth Southgate set up with Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, and Calvin Phillips playing as a more advanced player in that midfield was fantastic, and quite rightly so. Phillips was man of the match. He was absolutely phenomenal. He made some controversial decisions, playing Trippier at left back, not playing Shaw or Chilwell. Ultimately, you've got to take credit for the fact that it worked. It did work in the end. But Phillips was world class in that game. I thought it was phenomenal. I think I've said phenomenal about 50 times already in this podcast episode. But there we go. There was some really, really good performance, and we have seen some fantastic performers so far. Fantasy team update then. I thought I was going to do my fantasy team. I'm going to do it. How well am I doing in my fantasy team? So I want to hear from you as well. We've got a few people in there right now. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you just joined us, if you're new. And in the chats right now, I want to hear your highlights of the tournament so far. What has been your best moments? What's been the worst moments? All that sort of thing. Get it in the chat. I want to talk about that as well. But I want to talk about my fantasy team. We're going to talk about my fantasy team because it's been a bit of a shaky start, if I'm being honest. It's been a bit of a shaky start. Let me just quickly sort this out so I can try and get it. Right, here's the fantasy team. Here is the fantasy team that I've got. So I made transfers. Remember, so I'm doing the official UEFA one. If you haven't checked out sort of when I picked my UEFA team, I did sort of pick it, and I spoke about why I picked them. I didn't really do any research into it, so it's very, very interesting. But this is what I went with. If it's going to load, it would be fantastic. I'd really appreciate it if this app could load. But basically, I've already made my 2 transfers going into this second match week. But I did go with some interesting controversial points in terms of, I went into some interesting controversial points when I actually picked the team. But for some reason, at every moment where you really need things to work, it doesn't work. And the app is not loading. But don't worry, we will try and find a way. But no, so basically, we went with, I know most of it. I had Donnarumma in goal, who did keep a clean sheet against Turkey in the opening game, which is very, very good. And I've kept him in, because hopefully can keep a clean sheet against Switzerland tonight, which is what I want to see. I have Belotti that I know I've transferred out, because Belotti looks like with Immobile scoring I think we'll score a lot of goals for Italy in this competition. He's going to be the starting striker. I think we will see, we'll see Belotti not play as much. I think we'll see Immobile play quite a lot of football. He'll probably be the starting striker, and I can't see Belotti get too many goals in that situation. So I've transferred him out for Romelu Lukaku. Of course, Cancelo unfortunately got COVID, which means, unfortunately, he can't be in the tournament, so he's been kicked out of the squad. Say kicked out, sounds quite violent, doesn't it? Removed from the squad. So, yes, that's that. So I transferred him out as well, which I know, obviously it's a shame Cancelo isn't there. I think he'd have been a really good player. I think, he's been fantastic for Man City this season. I think he would have been a really, really good player for people to have in their teams, but it was quite expensive, to be honest. It was quite an expensive player. So we could sort of make some interesting positions. Here we go. My fantasy team is on here now. So we can go through it. So yeah, this was before the match week went. So I had Donnarumma in goal, who kept a clean sheet against Turkey, which is very, very good. I had Kyle Walker, who had an absolute shocker, by the way, for England. He did have an absolute shocker, but unfortunately, fantasy don't sort of take in sort of pass retention. Or sort of how good or average rating. Thankfully, they don't take into consideration that, because Kyle Walker had a stinker of a game, but because he kept a clean sheet, and he's part of a winning team, played more than 60 minutes or whatever, however the scoring works, he gets the point. So that was very, very good there. Varane, of course, kept a clean sheet last night against Germany, so he got me some good points as well. Pau Torres kept a clean sheet for Spain, and Diaz kept a clean sheet for Portugal. So to be honest with you, defensively going with my fantasy team so far in this competition, I've been very, very good. We've also had Spain, Portugal, France, Italy and England, with all their games defensively, have not conceded a goal yet, which is a very, very interesting thing to talk about. And I was extremely, extremely happy, because that's got me some very, very nice points. The problem is, though, it's when we go forward, because of course goals and assists gets you the big bucks, it gives you the big players, it gives you the big points. And unfortunately, that hasn't pulled out for me yet. I haven't actually had a player that's scored yet, which in the first week is not ideal. I'm on 44 points altogether. Pedri, I'd of course have for Spain. He didn't really do too much. He played over 60 minutes or whatever, so he got a few points, but not much. Kante last night, he was decent. Oh, I had Mount in, sorry. I had Mount in for Kante. I've swapped him around. But Mount, didn't do too much for England in their game against Croatia. Didn't get me too many points there. Fernandes did okay, I thought, against for Portugal. But didn't get me many points because he didn't get a goal or an assist. And going forward, I captained Harry Kane, hoping he was going to get a goal against Croatia. But he didn't do very well against Croatia at all, which is very, very unlike Harry Kane. Normally, he's a player that you can rely on to score some goals. But unfortunately, he didn't. And Romelu Lukaku, again, I've recently transferred him in. But before that, I had Belotti, so hopefully Lukaku can continue in his goal scoring form like he did against Russia, because I need him to score some more goals. And I had Gerard Moreno, who I think should start, because I thought Morata was absolutely awful. So that's my fantasy team. So far I've got 44 points in my friends leagues, in my mates leagues. I am in a few leagues there. I started off very, very slow, but I slowly am getting better, which is good. But that's the update there. I'd be interested to see what you've got to say as well. Remember, if you're watching this as a video, you can leave your comments down below. I can respond to them just as if they were a live chat. I'll be responding to all of them as per usual. But ultimately, people, that has been the week 1 roundup of Euro 2020. Very, very interesting. Really good talking points. I feel like I've had a great discussion. I feel like I've really summarised it as well. We've had interaction in the chat, which has been fantastic. And we've really sort of summarised the tournament. And we've really summarised what has been a really, really exciting tournament. So, yes, we will be back tomorrow, probably live, doing a Scotland preview for England versus Scotland, which I'm very, very excited about. And also as well, of course, we've got the game on Friday. I probably won't be doing a live one on Friday because I'm going to be watching that out with some mates. But hopefully on Saturday, we can get some thoughts on that game as well in sort of a recorded form, maybe even do a live form as well, so we sort of debrief Scotland versus England, a massive game there. And also as we continue through the tournament, we're doing lots of these as well, sort of reviewing and sort of talking about the tournament as it goes. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. A very different one, a Wednesday evening, not your normal time for a stream, but I feel like we really had to summarise everything. Now that every team has played their first game in Euro 2020, we can summarise it in a really, really good way. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. I've been Jack. This has been the Unfan Podcast. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and turn notification bells on as well, so you never miss an episode of the podcast, whether it's live or pre-recorded, just like this. Take care, stay safe. I'll see you very, very soon, and yeah, take care.